Central C was born Oakley Neil Caesar Sue on the 4th of June 1998. In an interview with The Guardian, Central C revealed that his mother actually grew up in a well-off family, even going to a boarding school. However, in the mid-1990s, at the age of 15, she would be financially cut off by her parents after meeting and starting a relationship with Sench's dad, a hustler, apparently against the parents' wishes. Now, when it comes to family, there's been endless debates over Sench's racial makeup, and it's something that he has sidestepped as much as possible.
Bro, just what's her ethnicity, bro? I just want to know, because I don't know what's her ethnicity.
Neither do I, bro. I don't know ethnicity.
Well, the truth is, he actually had a Guyanese father with Chinese ancestry and an English mother. Guyana being a small country located in the northeast of South America, right next to Venezuela,
He knew
and England
he
being that little island over
There's
there.
no way that
Now,
this
in some
man
ways, being
tried
racially
knowing you
ambiguous
don't
in this
know.
globalized
You
world
know?
we're living in these days can actually be an asset in the entertainment industry. The same way many people have said The Rock has had such a wide appeal because he could kind of pass for a few different races,
Listen.
and as a result, he's relatable to a lot of
I
groups.
thought he was
While this is
Hawaiian.
something that certainly worked in C's
You
favor,
know?
naturally, in the black-dominated world of hip-hop music,
Probably
authenticity to
'cause
your
it's
roots
tattoo.
is key. But for C, being born in Ladbroke Grove, located in West London, set him up with a natural connection to London's Afro-Caribbean community, as the annual Notting Hill Carnival in the area is a yearly event celebrating the vibrant Caribbean culture in London. But it's also, unfortunately, a yearly magnet for knife-wielding UK drillers who often bring their beasts to the streets of West London for the annual street festival, which I've sometimes referred to as the Stab Olympics. Now, we'll be taking a closer look at some
Stab
of the more
Olympics.
infamous knife clashes at
That's
Notting Hill
crazy.
Carnival when we get deeper into the story as the key players grow up. But talking with Blue Mag, Sench would actually say that he rarely missed the carnival growing up, going constantly and calling it something that had a massive influence on him socially and musically, an influence that he'd elaborate on later in his No Jumper interview.
So there definitely was some musical influence though. West London as well being the home of like Notting Hill Carnival. There's a lot. So like West London is like a very like right area for like music and I don't know what you wanna call it, black music or whatever.
Right.
Because like Notting Hill Carnival is right there. There's a lot of like Caribbean influence in the area.
But the relationship between his mother and father, which had started under difficult circumstances, was sadly not meant to last. As Seawood explained that between 2005 and 2006, his parents would split up when he was just 7 years old, at which point his mother would move him and his two younger brothers away from Ladbroke Grove to nearby Shepherd's Bush, with another half-brother that was living elsewhere. Only 5 minutes away from Ladbroke Grove, Shepherd's Bush also had rich cultural ties to reggae, jazz, dance and rap music. But anyway, the separation of C's parents was really a defining moment in his life. He would tell Vogue that they didn't have much growing up, but following the split, his mother would raise them alone, and he would begin subconsciously taking on her hardships too. This made him feel responsible for making enough money to support her and the family, something that would ultimately lead him towards music, but also at the time, making moves in the streets. C would first dabble in writing music in 2006 at around 8 years old, mainly for therapeutic purposes, turning to poetry as a mean to cope.
Oh yeah, he
with the
been doing
overwhelming
this shit
emotions
since a
and
kid
stress
as
brought on
far
by
as
the
like
drastic
throwing
change
up
in
shit.
family dynamics. It was something that his mother
Looking at
actually
every
encouraged
picture,
him
he
to do.
thought he was
going through a
gangster
lot
for
during this
real.
time. After his mother
You know?
and father's separation, his father would actually become homeless and started living out of a van. On the rare occasions that Sench
come
saw
down
his
to that
father, it
sometime.
often involved him and his brothers riding around in the van with music blasting or visiting their cousins. And it was during these rare moments with his father that Sench and his brothers would actually rap to each other in the back of the van, with C later hinting as his father actually being wild and crazy on lyrics of his song Molly. Sench would share with Complex that these moments spent jamming to reggae, dancehall, garage, house and hip-hop with his father and his brothers was actually the start of his love for music, also confirming this while speaking to Adam 22 on No Jumper.
My dad used to play a lot of music around me when we would be around him. My mum not so much.
All in, Sench grew up under some unfortunate circumstances. On the track Gang Biz from his 2021 album Wild West, Central C would recount the struggles that he was facing as a youth. Raised by a single mother after his parents separated when he was only 7, he and his younger brothers would struggle, eventually turning to crime and selling drugs to make ends meet. As time went on, he would evolve from writing poetry to straight rap music. In an interview with Complex, he recalled writing bars all the way back in 2010 when he was around 12 years old, going back and forth with his brother trying to impress him. This all while C was attending the Chelsea Academy in London. Chelsea Academy in West London is actually the very same school attended by fellow West London drill legend Digger D, with C actually being 2 years older than Digger. This is something that Digger would confirm in an Instagram live when listening and rapping along to Central C's song Loading.
This is my guy, man. You didn't know. I went to school with him.
However, Digger D would get kicked out of that school in year 8.
When I went to school with him, I got kicked out in year 8, blood. Started year 8.
And we'll be getting deeper into why Digga D was kicked out of school later in the video, but for now let's stick with Cench. Talking to Vice, Central C would explain that he mostly kept to himself during his time in school, describing himself as a naughty kid with a temper. And speaking to Double XL, he would add that he only used to get in a bit of trouble at school, but always kept his head down and was kinda cool and popular. But throughout his time at the Chelsea Academy, C wanted to focus on making music and didn't really care about his grades. And unlike Digga, C would remain in that school until he was 16. And it seems like Cench even finished school and attended prom with his first girlfriend. But in 2012, at around the age of 14, a friend would take him to the studio for the first time, inspiring him to actually pursue a career in music. He would channel his experiences listening to old school hip hop in his dad's van on the weekends and evenings into his lyrics, with references to some of the artists that he was listening to and inspired by, like Tupac, Biggie, G-Unit, Wu-Tang Clan, and MF Doom. Speaking with Double XL, Cench also mentioned that when he first started recording in 2012, he was heavily influenced by UK MCs like Skepta, JME, and the whole grime scene. From here, Central C decided to try and take the first steps in a full-blown music career, and for the next 7 years, from 2014, Central C would make music, trying all kinds of different sounds to get his career off the ground, but he was struggling to get any motion. And according to him, at this point, to make money, he had turned to selling what he called party drugs to support his dreams and his family, while his career hadn't actually taken off yet. The supposed drug dealer arc is a big part of Central C's story and artistic identity, but it's also something that's been scrutinized and debated. Many people have tried to deeply analyze Central C's involvement in the streets to try and discern if he was really about that life. C himself has been careful not to incriminate himself too specifically when it comes to how he made money in the past, with many wondering if this is because he's trying to keep it G and not snitch on himself, or if in fact this is actually an effort to sidestep the difficult questions about whether he was ever in the streets at all. In an interview with Vice, they asked C about the fact that he often raps how he doesn't do fraud, asking him how he made his money, with C telling Vice that he did odd jobs and joking that he made a bit of money doing an apprenticeship for the pharmaceuticals industry, an obvious reference to drug dealing. C has referenced his drug dealing past in a guarded way in most of his mainstream interviews. His tagline for his 2023 Guardian interview was "From dealing drugs to having #1 hits," and the article saw him comparing his drug dealing stint to working a regular job, and he explained that in Shepherd's Bush, you can hear drug lines ringing constantly and make 2,000 quid a day even as a kid. C would nearly speak openly about his time as a drug dealer in his No Jumper interview, but quickly backtracked, realizing he might be incriminating himself.
It occurs to me watching these like old videos of you freestyling about selling drugs that you probably were actually selling drugs at the time.
When years back,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not now.
yeah. Whatever I had said, yeah. Don't want to incriminate myself too tough.
But like most rappers, despite being tight-lipped in interviews, when it comes to song lyrics, C speaks with a lot more openness and confidence about being a so-called trapper. With songs like Molly and Pinging, C outright claims to have been selling Molly, MDMA, or ecstasy, and bragging that he was the reason that the parties would turn, and how he spent a whopping 5 years in the trap house. C would rap on Pinging about his home being searched by police and his mother being mad about the situation, and bagging up cocaine using lottery ticket slips, a common move by broke drug dealers in the UK who can't afford plastic baggies, so they resort to making origami ones out of free, unfilled lottery ticket slips. And also on the 2022 track 8 Ball, he would literally list his menu of marijuana, ecstasy, Valium, cocaine, and Xanax as just some of the drugs that he was slinging at the time. However, despite all of the claims of being a drug dealer, Central C's street credentials have often been brought into question. Even in his Guardian article where he spoke on dealing drugs, he kind of backtracked and said that it was really his brothers and friends' stories that he was telling. There's been endless debates on Reddit about
Why
whether or
would
not
you
he was ever
never,
really
ever
trapping,
say
with the
some
community
stuff like
generally
that?
leaning towards no. However, in one discussion online,
If it
a
won't
Reddit user
true,
would
you
comment that you
very,
don't necessarily need to be a bad boy on the streets to move party drugs to party people, using the example of many people in the house, D&B and dubstep scenes trapping but not necessarily looking like your typical gangster drug dealers. With another Reddit user pointing out that his old drug dealer was actually a Minecraft YouTuber with 800 subscribers, with a third user commenting that normal people actually prefer to buy drugs from a nice and stable looking young man, meaning that perhaps even if C didn't fit the stereotype, he may well have been moving weight in these streets. However, beyond drug dealing, as far as we know, Central C never really got into the gang lifestyle to the extent that maybe Digga D did. However, some Reddit posts circulate affirming that people have it wrong when they say that Cench isn't from the streets, pointing out his apparent right-hand man is actually a feared gangster from Shepherd's Bush, known as YG. Now, there's been a years-long beef that's gone on between two West London gangs, 12 World and 1011, which we'll get into later. But even the ops of Central C's friends would cast doubt on his street credentials. For example, in an interview on The Tremendous Show with UKL, on Striker from CGM, formerly known as 1011, mentioned that Digga D was indeed in the streets, but Central C was not.
You know what it is? A lot of people might think it's biased, but I'm keeping it real. Digga's a road G. Central C has never been a road G, bro.
Striker would then reveal that Central C actually used to be a runner for drug dealers, but not the dealer himself.
This Central C used to drip for man's brethrens, bro. He used to be a runner.
But he would then kind of backtrack, saying that he can't say for sure that Central C is capping when he raps about trapping, because C was indeed running drugs for Striker's friends.
So look, if a man's talking about trapping, I'm not gonna be like, oh, he's capping, because I know he was trapping, because you was jugging for my bedrooms, bro. That man was sending you OT.
What do you mean he was jugging for your
But
bedrooms?
he was.
though?
I'm not gonna talk too much, but he was jugging for man's bedrooms, and he was jugging for certain use. He was
Your
going.
bedrooms put him on.
Yeah, he was jugging for certain use, innit? That's how I know who this youth was.
When asked what Central C meant by saying that he got the party turned in songs, Stryker would respond saying that he couldn't speak on what Central's doing after being a runner.
I don't know. I'm not gonna discredit his
Yeah.
thing. I don't know what he's done after that, but I know that there was a stage where he was jugging for man's bedrooms. Right? He was going O, and he was doing that. He was setting
He's
man's
actually going
work,
O.
innit?
He would even give the year 2014 to be the approximate time that Central C was running drugs and going OT, or out of town, as part of County Line's drug dealing operations.
He's actually going O.
Yeah, he talks about going O, bro.
What,
So-
nose ring days? This is nose ring.
It must have been nose ring days, innit?
Nose piercing and
Yeah.
ponytail days. He's going O.
Yeah, probably before that.
Okay.
Either before, or I don't know when he. All I remember is seeing that video. I don't know if it was. I'm just trying to think the year this was. This might have been like, is it 014? Around them type of time?
Yeah.
So whatever he was doing then, yeah, bro, he was jugging.
At the end of the day, the debate about whether or not Central C was a drug dealer or gangster still hasn't been settled. With no known criminal record or street CV to speak of, it's not entirely clear if Central C is really drawing on his own experience or fabricating a backstory that will be alluring to his fans. But one thing is for sure though, while Central C was growing up, flirting with the trap in Shepherd's Bush, back in Ladbroke Grove, where Central was from originally, one person who had built up a fearsome street CV of his own was his old schoolmate Digger D. Teenage years would find himself on the front lines of a deadly beef between his area Ladbroke Grove and the area Central C had moved to, Shepherd's Bush, with the deadly war playing out on the streets of West London in the form of broad day stabbings, shootings, and murders, with Digger D rapping all about it as he went along, his gang terrorising West London so badly they were not only put in prison but also banned from making music.
I do believe Central C is from the streets. I believe he's like, you feel me? I believe obviously he's from poverty. You feel me? But do I think he was slinging big dope or nah? But he was probably like middleman in it. You feel me? Whatever they wanted, whatever they was calling it, I'm a middleman in it. You feel me? Which is cool. It ain't no pressure. You feel me? He was moving a little something. It ain't. You feel me? It just ain't nothing to be saying I was doing this and that and I don't want to incriminate myself and yeah, you won't do it all nothing. It won't nothing. You know what I'm saying? So, you don't gotta be gangster, bro. He's from the streets. You were poor, poverty. Bro, it don't matter. You ain't gotta, I just don't like how people think they gotta sell drugs to, you know what I'm saying, even be the person. Like, bro, you don't need that to be the, But alright, we gonna let them run with it. But yeah, if y'all leave y'all comments below on what y'all thought about the video. You feel me? If y'all liked it, if y'all leave a like, I would appreciate that. If you're not subscribed, if you would. You feel me? Till next time. And we doing part 2 now on the Central C and the Digger D. Y'all already know. Get into that right now. You feel me? Appreciate it.